Welcome back to a new video, guys. We're actually going to be replacing the window bush today and re-greasing all the rails. I'll show you how to take all the door card off and stuff, get the rails out, fit the new bush. The new bush is from Moss. It's a new delrin bush. It's a lot stronger than the factory one. I have already done the driver's side, but I'm going to show you the passenger side today, which is the worst one actually. It's very stiff to get down. I'll show you a quick demonstration of how slow the window goes down and how stiff it is, and then we'll have a good comparison at the end. Here's a quick clip of me winding down the window. As you can see, it is very stiff and it takes a lot of momentum just to get it down. First step is just taking off the handle. It's just 3 fillet head screws, 1 in the top, 2 in the middle, and it will just simply pull off. Next thing is just remove the plastic surrounding for the door handle and the lock. It's just again 1 small Phillips head screw. So last thing is just the window handle. If you just apply a screwdriver in between the door card and the handle, you'll see a small clip. Just push the one side out and it will pop off, and then the handle will just come off. Once all 3 are removed, you can now just pull the door card off. If you go around the edge of the door card and feel where the push clips are, if you just pull right as close to those as you can, they'll pop off of the door and you can pull the door card straight off. With the door card now off and the inside of the door fully exposed, you'll see the weather stripping. To get this off, you do need to remove your locking mechanism. It's just 3 small screws, and then you can pull the weather stripping off. Do be careful as it is on with some really sticky stuff. Try not to get it on your clothes or your hands, but it does just peel off quite simply. I can now start working on removing the window mechanism and the glass. First I'll start with the 3 bolts holding in the window winder. Next thing are the window stoppers. These are actually movable, so before you loosen them off, just grab a marker like I did and circle around the bolt, and then you can put it in the exact same position as it was before. If these aren't in the exact same position, it can let your window go too far up, or it can stop it from reaching the correct height. So if you mark them before, take them off, you'll never go wrong. And the final thing on the inside of the door are just the 3 bolts holding the glass to the mechanism. So we'll move on to the outside of the window now and just remove the weather strip. All I did was just get a screwdriver on the end of there and poke it up, and once it's all exposed, you can just see those little clips in there. So they do have a tiny little tab on them. Be careful because they are prone to snapping. You just want to get a small screwdriver and just poke the little prong, and it will release itself from the door, and then you can just pull this whole weather strip off. With the window free now, you can just simply pull it out all the way to the top. With the window out, we can now start removing the actual window mechanism. There are 2 bolts at the bottom for the main rail, and then to the end of the door there's 1 at the bottom for the end rail, and there's 3 bolts at the top. As you can see, to remove the winder part of the window where the handle connects to, it is actually quite tricky to push it through the door because the inner rail is actually right behind it. If you just remove the 10mm bolt at the bottom of it, you can then just bend the bottom a little bit and push it out and slide it past. Back to the window now, and as you can see, my bush is actually in pretty good condition, which is surprising with how bad the window is. but at least while we've got it out now, we may as well replace it with the new one. It'll prevent it from perishing in the future. So you just want to remove the bolt through the middle, which is a T30 Torx bit. Pull the bush out, and then I'll show you how to put the new one in. So we've now got the old bush out, and this is how it's laid out. So you have a nylon washer on the underneath. That's to protect the window from cracking when you do tighten it down. And then you have a metal spacer with the thread in. That's where the bolt goes into. So you want to keep those under the bottom, and also the nylon knot on the top, just to protect the window. And then with your new bushing, so you have a nylon spacer, and then a metal spacer, and then another little one to go on the edge, and then obviously your bushing. So with your new bushing right here, you use the same original factory bolt. Just take it out of your old one. You want to push that through the new bushing like so, and then with your new washers, like that. So you put the metal thin one on first, and then the nylon over the top, and then your little spacer goes on the top like there. As you can see, because the factory one is wider, the new bushing requires this spacer on, just so it has enough surface area to push onto the window. And here's the finished product. So as you can see, you've got your new bush with the standard bolt going through, your metal spacer first, then your nylon spacer, and then the little washer goes underneath the bushing so that it can clamp onto the window. You've got your metal spacer that's standard, then the nylon bush. Make sure you put those in, else it will crack the window when you tighten it up. And again, on the underside, you've got the nylon bush spacer, and then the metal spacer with the thread in to screw it all in. Now I'm going to show you how to recondition the rails. As you can see, you've got all the old dried up grease inside. Give these a good clean, make sure you get all the old grease out, and then we'll re-grease it with some new ones, and it should be good to go. So what I used to remove the old grease was just mix up a degreaser, about 50-50, which is quite strong for this degreaser. It does do really well at diminishing all the old grease. And then I just used a detail brush just to brush it off the rails, get into all the different slots and make sure that it's all cleared. Just simply use the hose just to wash it all out and make sure that it's all the degrease is not sat in there and the old grease is fully washed away. With both rails all dry now, it's time to re-grease them. I just used a general all-purpose grease. It seems to be holding up well. Making sure, use your finger just to get into the underside of the rail and make sure you fill it all the way across. Get a good coat in there, but try not to leave any big chunks because the bush will just move up and down it and collect the grease anyway.
I got you and your vibes in my mind, I can't get them out, no matter how hard I try. I need you and your heart next to mine, yeah, I'm all about keeping you and
Just as a little extra precaution, I did put a load of grease onto the bushing and then just slid the rail up and down it just to make sure it has got full coverage. With everything all nice and clean and greased up, it's now time to put it all back in. It is just the reverse of taking it all out. Just put your window mechanism back in, the 2 bolts at the bottom for the middle rail, bottom at the end of the door underneath for the end rail, and the 3 bolts holding your window winder in. Don't forget to put the 10mm back into the inside rail. This obviously does clamp it closer into place, so if you did put the window in without this in, it might not sit straight and it could potentially damage the window. Keeping all the bolts loose so it has room to move around a little bit. It's then time to put the glass in. Once it's so far down and it does hit the mechanism, you can use the winder to just bring the mechanism down to expose the holes for the bolts. Just giving it a few tests, wiring up and down, just to make sure it's all okay before tightening it up. Just so that if something is wrong and it's all tightened up, you have to just go back again. But with it all working okay, tightened up all the bolts and move on to the next step. The next step is the outside weather strip. Just making sure you've got all your clips in the right places. Next part of the window stoppers, if you just slide them down the inside of the door and line them up with a bolt, making sure that you use your previous stencil with the marker pen or however you outline them. Again, like I said, if these are off, it can affect the way that the window goes up and down and closes against the door. Back to the footage of putting the weatherproofing back on. I did just leave mine outside on the floor and it stuck back down again fine. Just make sure before you do stick it down, you put the lock mechanism through the slot and then just press it into its previous position. You will see an outline of it in the door. With the weatherproofing back on now, we can put the lock mechanism back on. It's just the 3 bolts holding it in. With all that tightened up, it's time to put the interior of the door back on. First off is the door card. After that you can then put your lock mechanism plastic surround back in. Just pull open the handle, slide it through, make sure it's in the lock position, and then just use the small Phillips head screwdriver to screw it back into place. The window handle can be quite tricky. What I found was put the clip half on, so one side fully in and the other side just hanging off the edge. Get it to the position, make sure it's fully pushed on, and then just use a screwdriver just to push the clip in all the way and you'll hear it click. And the last thing to go back on is just the handle. Pretty straightforward, just the 3 Phillips screws. Make sure they're all tight and then it's all done. Okay, so we're all buttoned up now, all back together like nothing happened. So we'll give it a test now. And as you can see, it takes very minimal effort, very smooth. It goes up nice and dry. So there we go. Thanks for watching. See you.